What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of the Cover 2 podcast. I'm your host, as always, Lawson Turner, and flying solo today. No co host today, but as they say, the show must go on. So, today is the start of week 3. We got the Thursday night game. I'm going to be bringing up my predictions for all the games this week for this video, so let's dive right into it tonight. The Giants go to San Fran to probably just a domination, if I'm being honest. Like I didn't see the Giants winning this game with Saquon or Andrew Thomas, but the fact that they're both out, I think Nick Bosa is gonna have a field day. I think that this Niners defense that we saw them destroy Pittsburgh week 1, and we saw the Rams move the ball and look okay. I don't think the Niners played particularly great in week 1, and they still felt like they were in control the whole game. So I think the spread is 10.5. It's a 10.5 is so much, but I'm picking the Niners to cover the 10.5 point spread because I don't see how the Giants can get to. I don't see how they can get to 20 points. I don't, and I think this is a roster mismatch. And you're looking at a Giants team that, yeah, they won last week, but you were down 20-0 to the Cardinals last week at halftime. And we know the Niners are in the Super Bowl bubble, and their roster from top to bottom is top 2 and maybe not 2 in the whole entire league. So I'm going to take the Niners to win, and I think they'll cover the 10.5 point spread. Now, to the Sunday games, Tennessee travels to Cleveland. I don't like Cleveland. I think the Browns, they've always been a below average a below average franchise. I think Deshaun Watson is. It's hard to take a year and a half off of anything, pick it back up, and be how you were. But the fact that he took a year and a half off, and I just that Nick Chubb injury last week, it almost sucked the life. It probably did suck the life. Now they did sign Kareem Hunt, who's been in Cleveland. He knows a little bit of Kevin Stefanski's offense, so I think it'll obviously you can't Nick Chubb can't go down and you replace him. That's just something that's not going to happen. And I expect I expect Tennessee. Now they had an awesome win last week against the Chargers in overtime. I think that is an awesome win to have Derrick Henry in check, and they still came out and won. I think this is also a coaching mismatch. I think Mike Vrabel will coach circles around Kevin Stefanski's game plan. I think that they're going to force Deshaun into. I could see Deshaun throwing the ball 35, 38 times this week, and Deshaun he's not the same. So I think the Titans if you want to call it an upset, I think the Titans upset the Browns. So give me the Titans and the Titans plus 3.5. Excuse me. Now, probably one of the more interesting games this week. The Chargers, who desperately need a win, go to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Both teams need a win. Chargers more than the Vikings, but if the Chargers lose this game, and I think this game's going to be a shootout, they have the highest over-under of any game this weekend at 53.5. If the Chargers lose this game, Brandon Staley, your players are they're in, there should be zero reason this team should be 0-2. You lose week 1 when you let Tyreek Hill go crazy, and then you lose to a Titans team that's they are what they are. They're Derrick Henry, boom or bust. They have a below average quarterback in this stage of his career. You have D Hop, who's not D Hop anymore. due to the quarterback that's throwing him the ball, and you lose that game, that that can't happen. So I think the Chargers being favored by 1.5 is very like that's about where I thought it would be closer to 3 than it is to 1.5, but this is such a tough game because Chargers are more talented, but for whatever reason, it's just how the Chargers have always been. They find ways to lose these games. The flat out they find ways to lose games like last week and games like this week. I'm picking the Chargers to win, but would I be shocked if Minnesota comes out there and wins? No. And their offensive line is a mess. Vikings offensive line is a mess. I think Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, even though Joey Bosa is still kind of dinged, I think they could wreck the game because another thing that I didn't even think about till just now, we saw Philly. Now, granted, that's Philly's identity. Dominate time of possession and dominate the run game. We know if Austin Eckler plays, even if he doesn't, I still think they'll be good on the ground. But if I'm Austin Eckler, I'm begging. I don't care if I'm not at 100% or not. I'm begging to play because this is a game where Austin Eckler, just on the ground, not even through the air, could dominate this game. With all that being said, I'm still taking the Chargers to win. Now, this for this next game, Patriots at the Jets. Jets getting 2.5 at home is kind of crazy. This game is going to end 9-3. This is going to be ugly. It's flat out just going to be a disgusting game to watch. It's going to be field position, running game, not a lot of chunk plays because both defenses are awesome. Both defenses are stout. And I think I don't love either of these quarterbacks. I think Zach Wilson is ass, and Mac Jones is slightly less ass because I mean it. Mac Jones has shown me a few things this season so far that have made me okay. I'm starting to see what he was as a rookie, but I think this game's gonna end 9-3. This game's gonna be disgusting. This game's gonna be disgusting. I'm picking New England to win. I'm also picking them to cover the 3-point spread. It's just like this is such a bad. Let me not say a bad game because it's an in division game. Anything could happen, even though the Jets haven't beat New England since 2015. But with all that still being said, I could see Mac Jones throwing just a disgusting pick, and it ending up costing the Patriots. With all that being said, I'm still picking the Patriots because I just don't think that the under Zach Wilson, they're not. The defense is great, but offensively you have pieces, but Zach can't get him the ball, and I think Brees Hall is going to be heavy in on the game plan because he had 4 carries last week and they got behind early and abandoned the run game. Let's just go to the next game because I'm going to ramble about the New York Jets. We got the Texans going to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. Jags being favored by 8.5, so anything more than a touchdown kind of to me is like, yee. It's 8.5's a lot. CJ Stroud, I'm going to give it a minute and then say what I was about to. Houston Texans, through 2 weeks, I think you found your guy. And he's not throwing to anybody. And he's still looking awesome. CJ Stroud, I I tip my cap. You've looked awesome. Now, Jacksonville, can you score in the red zone this game? That's what cost you against the Chiefs last week. You could move the ball, even though it was an ugly first half last week, but you can get within the red zone. But can you capitalize? I think. Excuse me. I am taking Jags to win, but I don't see the Jags blowing the doors off of the Texans. So I'm taking Texans plus 8.5, but I'm still picking the Jags to win. This could also be a ugly game for, as in, it could get out of hand. The Bills go to Washington to take on the Commanders. Commanders getting 6.5. I don't think that, like, the discrepancy between Sam Howell and Josh Allen is the sun and the moon, but Sam Howell's got weapons. Through 2 weeks, he's looked. Last week, he looked awesome after a horrible start. After a horrible start, he looked great against the Broncos defense that hasn't lived up to the hype that it coming into the season that they were going to be. I think the Bills punch him in the mouth early, and we saw James Cook last week, 17 carries, 153 yards. No, not 153, 123 yards. Like, he that's the thing with the Bills. If they can run the ball, they might be, let me not say unstoppable. And Josh Allen was awesome last week. Like, we know he can be. We know he can be what he was last week. He's hit the highs, but we also saw him in week 1 look awful. So I, I think the Bills win. I think they win. I think it's a 2-possession game, and it comes down to an onside, and the Bills get it. So give me Bills money line, but I'm taking the Commanders plus 6.5. Uh, Next, Indianapolis. They're going to Baltimore. Anthony Richardson is out with a concussion that he suffered last week. I don't. This game is not going to take too long to talk about. Baltimore's favored by 7.5, which that's about where it is. With Anthony Richardson, I think it'd be closer to 7, 6.5, which betting wise is a lot, but I even if they had Anthony Richardson, I didn't see them. I don't see. There is no situation in which Indy wins this game unless Lamar shits the bed. And is that possible? Absolutely. But through 2 weeks under the new OC, he's looked awesome. He's looked awesome in the air. They're not asking him to run around or do anything crazy. They're just, Lamar, make the layups, hit Zay Flowers over the top once or twice a game. Give me Baltimore to cover because I think Gardner Minshew is. I don't think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, which there's nothing wrong with that because we know what you are. We know what you are, and I think Baltimore rolls. I could see Baltimore winning in the, I don't know, 10 to 12 range, somewhere around there. This game will be interesting for a number of reasons. We got Atlanta going to Detroit to take on the Lions. If Bijan can continue what he's been through the first 2 weeks, Atlanta's proved me wrong. I thought this team was going to win 4 or 5 games, and they're 2-0. Had an awesome win last week against Green Bay. Bijan's looked like a home run, which if you watch Texas last year, this is what he is. He's a highlight waiting to happen. He is a game breaker. Just get him the ball and watch. There's nothing more to say. Just hand him the ball or toss it to him and just watch. Good things are going to happen. Now, for Detroit side, David Montgomery being questionable this week is going to be interesting as to how they increment Jahmyr Gibbs. This could honestly be. I know in this business everyone talks about quarterback v quarterback. This game could just be Bijan versus Jahmyr. We have two electric young running backs in this game. The with Gardner Johnson going down for the year, assuming it is the year, because per reports, he played all last game with a torn pec. That sucks, not only for this game, but for the Lions season, because I really like him. He's a nice player. I like the way he plays. He is tough. He is physical. But I I could see Bijan tearing this game up. And another thing, Kyle Pitts, where are you? I don't know if you and Desmond Ritter just don't. I don't know if y'all don't gel, if y'all don't talk. I don't know if it's Arthur Smith in the game plan, but it sucks because he's so talented, and it's almost as if he doesn't touch the ball. With all that being said, give me Detroit minus 3.5. I think this game comes down to it in the end. I could see Atlanta being up 3 and Jared Goff just leading a game-winning touchdown drive and winning by 4, which would cover the spread. So give me Detroit minus 3.5, and I like Detroit to win outright. New Orleans, a team they made me look stupid last year because I thought they were still going to be really, not in the mix for a Super Bowl run, but in the mix as a playoff contending team. And the defenses looked awesome. Like, if I'm Dennis Allen, this is exactly what I wanted my defense to look like. Stifling, shuts down the run. They've got good corners, and offensively they've looked mid. They've just looked like a middle of the pack team. Bringing in Derek Carr, he's better than Jameis, but they have weapons galore. Offense shouldn't really be a problem considering they've got Michael Thomas, they've got Chris Olave, they've got Jamal Williams. Now I don't know if it's a wait till Alvin Kamara comes back and then they're just gonna explode, but I think that they're getting 2 points, and I like them to win outright. Now, on the Packers side, I think this could be a game that Jordan Love looks like, okay, he might have his hands full. Because New Orleans' defense front they can just get home. Now, I know the Packers have a good O-line, but if there's going to be a game in the first 7-8 weeks that Jordan Love really struggles, I think this is the one, because excuse me, through 2 weeks he's looked good, but I think this is the one. I think this is the one he looks like, okay, there's still a few things that need to be refined about his game. Give me the Saints +2. Give me the Saints to win outright. Moving to Miami, they've got Denver coming to Miami. Denver's getting 6.5 points, which I think Russell Wilson is cooked. I said it last video. He runs like a pregnant woman wearing flip-flops. This is such a mismatch to me because Mike McDaniel is reminding me of what Sean Payton used to do for Drew Brees. He draws up so many just creative plays where you're like, oh, Tua's throwing to people that are just wide open. Just wide open. And that's what Sean Payton used to do for Drew Brees. They were just wide open. Now, I understand they're one of the fastest, if not the fastest, offensive team in the league with Hill and Waddle and Raheem, and Tua's deadly accurate. I think Miami. I think this gets out of hand early, and then there's big questions of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. All right, what's the problem? Because Sean Payton comes to town, you don't expect to be 0-3, and you don't expect to choke a 21-3 lead against the Commanders at home. So I like the Dolphins to win outright. I also like them to cover the 6.5 point spread. Where we moved to Seattle, who I didn't think they would win last week. They were down both starting tackles, and Gino only got sacked once. They're playing Carolina, who Bryce Young through 2 games has looked. I think it's for all the young players, all the second and all the rookie and second year players. I need at least a year and a half to see what I have from you. I need at least a year and a half to see what I have from you. So Bryce Young through 2 weeks, he's looked fine. I don't think it's been anything jaw dropping, eye popping, crazy. But I think this is a game where Seattle could, because regardless if you like Seattle or not, they're a good organization. They still have a good coach. They're incredibly young. Like, this defense is only going to get better and better and better. And that I think Adam Thielen will have another nice game because he'll work the inside, work the middle of the field, and work out of the slot. Like last week through 2 drives, he had 4 catches last week, and he looks like he's Bryce Young's favorite target. Which, just throw to who's open, Bryce. You ain't gotta be Superman. Just throw to who's open. Give me the Seahawks to win, but I think 6 is too much for Seattle to cover. So give me the Panthers +6 and give me Seattle to win the game. You want to talk about a mismatch? The Bears go to Kansas City. The spread, all you have to do is just look at the spread. It's 12.5. And is it crazy to think Kansas City will cover this? Kansas City right now through 2 weeks is a defensive team. They're a defensive team, and that's crazy to think that, like, Mahomes has never had a top 10 defense. And you can make an argument this defense is minimal top 8. They've looked awesome. And with Chris Jones coming back, who is saying, who needs training camp? Because it looked like he didn't miss a beat. And I've seen all over TV, people are saying the only thing, if the biggest question about the Chiefs is the passing game, they're gonna be fine. I 100% agree with that because at the end of the day, they still have Patrick Mahomes, they still have Travis Kelce, they still have Andy Reid drawing up plays. They're gonna be just fine. And Justin Fields, I don't like what you said yesterday about when you were asked about you playing robotic, and one of the first words out of your mouth was coaching. Nah, I don't like that at all. I do think he needs to which the whole soundbite, he needs to start playing his game and trust you saw the first drive against Tampa. He was targeting DJ Moore. He got the scramble touchdown where he rolled right and took off. Now, this game, it doesn't matter. Chiefs are going to win. 12.5's a lot, though. Give me. I think the Chiefs will win by 10, so yeah, give me the Bears plus. Give me the Bears plus 12, but it won't matter because the Chiefs will win anyways. A game that has bulldoze all over it. Dallas going to Arizona. Another game that has a 12.5 point spread. The Cowboys are for real. Like, this defense, there's something about it. I don't know if it's Micah is 5% better than what he was last year. I don't know if it was the acquisition of Stephon Gilmore. I don't know if it's Dak is not turning the ball over, so the defense is getting rest on the sideline. But Dallas is for real. Dallas is absolutely for real, and I think they roll. I don't see the Cardinals getting 17 points. I don't. I think this will probably be a 26-10 game. With that being said, with me predicting 26-10, give me the Cowboys minus 12.5. They're going to cover the spread. They're going to win outright. Now, even though Arizona through 2 weeks, they've not looked bad. They have not looked bad. They've been competitive, but you have Josh Dobbs at quarterback right now. Enough said. We go to the late night game on Sunday. My Steelers traveling to Vegas. Matt Canada, if you can just get right a little bit, we'll be fine. Because this team, if there's any game to gain confidence as an offensive unit, it's this game. Because Vegas' defense has been bad for 12 years. It's been bad. Chandler Jones is going through personal stuff, so he's not going to play. Devontae Adams took a big hit last week. He might not play. Josh Jacobs against the Bills defense looked horrible. I want to say it was 9 carries for -2 yards. The Steelers defense could win this game just like they did week 2. They could win this game for this. I'm almost at a loss for words because there should be no problems with this offense. There should be no problems. Matt Canada, fix it. Personnel is there. Personnel is there. That should not be the problem. I'm still taking the Steelers to win outright, and so they'll win outright. So the plus 2.5 it won't matter. For Vegas, with Cam Hayward still being out, if they can control tempo with Josh Jacobs and Jimmy G not turn into a slapdick, then you know. And I like Jimmy G. I do, but if Devontae Adams misses the game and Jimmy G looks like the downside of Jimmy G, I think it could get ugly. We're back with 2 Monday night games, which I don't know why they're doing 2 Monday night games this year. I no idea. We got the Eagles going to Tampa. Now, I don't know what to make of Tampa because in both games Baker's looked good, and I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan, but through two games he's looked good. So, but I I think this is a game where if there's a game that will you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's Baker Mayfield. This is it. Baker could throw two picks this game and a fumble, and then everyone's like, oh, yeah, of course their ceiling is here because Baker Mayfield's their quarterback. I don't see a shellacking. I I don't think the Eagles will just beat the brakes off of Tampa. I think it'll be tough if Tampa were to win this game. I If Tampa's going to win this game, they have to dominate through the air. Because the biggest question for the Eagles is their pass defense, which is shocking because they get to the quarterback, they have good corners, and for whatever reason, they've just been getting torched. Kirk Cousins had beat the brakes off of them numbers, but they lost. And so, I don't know. I think I think Philly wins, but I think they win by 3. So I'm taking Tampa plus 4.5. But I'm picking the Eagles to win because I just I think this is the game Baker Mayfield turns back into a pumpkin, and yeah. But even if he reverts back to a pumpkin, I still think the Eagles only win by 3. I don't think there's as big as a gap as it might seem. Moving on to the last game of the week, the Rams and Puka Nakua travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I do not like the Bengals in this spot. I know they're favored by 3. Joe Burrow re-messed up his calf. So, and Stafford through 2 weeks has been fine. I mean, he had a pick last week, but what do we know about Stafford? He's going to go out there and he's just going to sling it. Excuse me. And I think the Bengals start 0-3. Yeah, I think the Bengals start 0-3. I think Stafford could throw a field day on the Bengals. I don't like their defense. I think they regressed from last year. And I understand they started the season 0-2 last year and still in the AFC Championship game, but you can only do that and look stuck in the mud for so long until it bites you. And I think that after this week, they might consider sitting Joe Burrow for a week or two to at least heal up your calf to try and get something. Because Joe Burrow through 2 weeks does not look good. In the first week against the Browns, he looked awful, and last week he had a resurgence, but he still had a bad pick on the goal line that took points right off the board. I I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with Joe Burrow, and it amazes me because he just got paid, and we know he's a good quarterback. We know he's a really good quarterback. He's got weapons. He has 2 number 1 receivers, and Tyler Boyd, he is a great number 2, number 3 receiver. We know it's Jamar and T, but how Tyler Boyd is benefiting from them having 2 number 1 receivers. And I think that even though offensively they have more talent right now because Cooper Kupp's still out than the Rams, I think Aaron Donald could make Joe Burrow's life, not fun. Not fun at all. And with that, that was this week's picks and predictions from your host, Lawson Turner. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys. We will talk to you guys later. For so long until it bites you. And I think that after this week, they might consider sitting Joe Burrow for a week or two to at least heal up your calf to try and get something. Because Joe Burrow through 2 weeks does not look good. In the first week against the Browns, he looked awful, and last week he had a resurgence, but he still had a bad pick on the goal line that took points right off the board. I I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with Joe Burrow, and it amazes me because he just got paid, and we know he's a good quarterback. We know he's a really good quarterback. He's got weapons. He has two number one receivers, and Tyler Boyd, he is a great number two, number three receiver. We know it's Jamar and T, but how Tyler Boyd is benefiting from them having two number one receivers. And I think that even though offensively they have more talent right now because Cooper Kupp's still out than the Rams, I think Aaron Donald could make Joe Burrow's life, not fun. Not fun at all. And with that, that was this week's picks and predictions from your host, Lawson Turner. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys. We will talk to you guys later.